俺はこの不幸な時代に飢えた狼のような心で生きてきた。
By the time I started writing this essay, I just finished watching the Yuda arc, Rei being my favorite protagonist in the story since his introduction. Although the length of his arc was fairly average, it didn't take long for Yuda to become my favorite antagonist in Fist of the North Star. Although old school, Fist of the North Star delivers in this arc one of the best dynamics between two students of the same school in its story, and maybe perhaps in all of shonen.
Rei, 哀れな男よ。愛する女のために俺に立ち向かおうとしたお前の命もいよいよ朽ち果てるか。だが俺はお前を死に際まで嘲笑ってやる。
Being fated to be enchanting, and by extension deceptive, Yuda, the successor of the Nanto Kokaku-ken, does his title justice as a master strategist who's willing to throw anybody under the bus for personal gain. Not only does he display thorough understanding by knowing his limits, even if he doesn't like to admit it, the Star of Deception also proves himself capable of thinking for himself by paying respect to his enemies, die by a hand of those he wanted to kill. The hero of his story, he's generally convinced of his cause to serve Rao and become unmatched in beauty, even while kidnapping and enslaving Mamiya after her parents were slaughtered in front of her eyes. To determine his nature, we need to first understand what he considers beauty. In his case, it can be interpreted as aesthetics, architecture, clothing, physique, fighting styles. To Yuda, the beauty of life lies in aesthetics, what the eye perceives. This is why he attempts to capture beauty in all aspects of his own life. Watching Rei demonstrate his skill moved Yuda's very heart and soul, shocked about how big the world is and that there are people who've already mastered what he's trying to discover. Instead of approaching Rei for advice and support, driven by envy, Yuda breaks bad and deserts from the Nanto school, which leads to a walk of life and priorities in stark contrast to Rei. For years, Yuda tried to surpass his rival physically on the battlefield and mentally in ideology, but all to no avail. Although a force to be reckoned with, Yuda tends to resort to cheap tricks in order to secure his victory. He does that by putting others at a disadvantage, such as using water to prevent jumps, baits to trap the main cast, and attacking a settlement at its weakest. At the end, it is revealed that Yuda contemplated for a long time why he can never surpass Rei. So what was Rei's key to success? The way he pursues his view on beauty.
間宮が死にゆく定めにあろうとも、俺の気持ちは変わらん。間宮、悲しい女よ。せめてお前のために死んでゆく男が一人ぐらいいてもいい。
As the Star of Justice and Master of Nanto Rokusei-ken, Rei is fated to live for others in order to enact justice. He does that by seeking to uphold values and combat malice and injustice in the world. The ideal portrait of that would be the knight who survived the Shinrei die, sacrificing his already deteriorating health for final showdown against his fated rival. With the help of Kenshiro and Co., Rei found his sister on purpose in life. He puts responsibility above personal desires, staking his life to avenge Mamiya, who was enslaved by Yuda. The dedication is reciprocated, such as with Mamiya risking her own life by entering Medicine City for Rei's sake. In contrast to Yuda, to Rei, beauty is not about what is on the outside, but more about the inner workings. This includes, but is not limited to, covenants, love, be it platonic or romantic, and of course his path as martial artist. In the midst of the literal hell on earth, which he calls his home, Rei has found beauty lying in the community, which is not only perceived through the five senses, but also the heart and soul. He has no time to compare himself to the others or bother with their opinions. He only seeks to surpass one person, himself. The greatest motivation for fulfilling his destiny is Mamiya and his sister Airi, the woman he loves. Willing to die for his cause, there are very few things that can stop him from pursuing his objectives. One could say that this arc's themes revolve around acceptance and maturity. For years, Yuda convinced himself that he's the best, desperately seeking validation from his subordinates on a regular basis. This sweet talking had him deluded to a point that anything that surpasses or even comes close to his level is viewed as a challenge to his very existence. Yuda hates change he can't control, which can be seen when he has a woman sent to her death for simply trying a new hairstyle. Rei, on the other hand, has come to terms with facing imminent death, which allowed him to undergo spiritual rebirth. After clearing his mind of all his worries and sorrows, he builds up the resolve to slay his inner demons and settle his final scores for good. So what is special about this particular rivalry? It's a never-ending exchange of blows, pain and ideologies that, during its finale, taught those involved important lessons about each other and themselves. There are also some loose references to the Bible, such as with Rei and Jesus enduring egregious physical pain, which represents the sins of their morally destitute peers. Of course, there's also Yuda, having a lot in common with Jesus' apostle Judas Iscariot, among them their names, and being known as traitors. One can also observe two stories playing out at the same time. One about the man who has achieved his fantastic goals but never realized his lifelong dream. Another story about the man who has fulfilled his glorious destiny, but without ever acting on his individual passion. Yuda is a rare case of a character, not to mention an antagonist/villain, who undergoes character development, and that in a short span of time. By pushing his limits, Rei literally does his title Star of Justice justice, proving everyone, including himself, that dedication can even overpower death itself. Hey there, it's the Enlightening This. Thanks for watching. Like what you saw? Spread the word. Got any ideas for the channel? Don't be shy, post them down in the comments below. Stay safe everyone. Keep it lit.